Hey Sam,
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Where are we?
So this is the tall ship Providence, which is a replica of the original USS Providence, which was part of the Continental Navy during the Revolutionary War, originally part of the Rhode Island State Navy. And it's moored here in Alexandria, Virginia, which is a beautiful colonial port town dating back to the pre-independence era. And yeah, this is a really cool ship, a really cool piece of DC history, DC local flavor, and yeah.
Great. Amazing. Well, I will see you on land.
All right, see you on land.
Hello again.
Hello again. Welcome to land.
Welcome.
Another fun fact about Providence is this is one of the only ships, or one of the few ships that served in all of the big fleet actions that the Continental Navy participated in during the Revolutionary War. So down at the end of this river in the Chesapeake Bay, down to the Bahamas for America's first amphibious operation against the British outpost, and then up to Penobscot Bay. And the original Providence is actually at the bottom of Penobscot Bay, but we're happy to have the replica here in
Yes.
Alexandria.
Amazing. Well, can I ask you some more questions?
Absolutely.
Who inspired your interest in foreign policy?
I don't think it's really a person. I've always loved history, and I came out of college with a history degree and decided what is better than playing with history in the modern day.
What is the title of your essay?
So my essay is entitled Maritime America, and it's about the lost strategic tradition of commercial and maritime strategy that helped build the United States.
How would you describe the topic of your essay in one word?
Sea power.
What time period is your essay exploring?
So we go back to the very beginning of the United States, to the colonies, the founding of the first colonies along the shores of the Atlantic and the rivers and estuaries of the North American continent, and we take it all the way through the Revolutionary War, through the Constitution, and up to the end of the War of 1812.
Who is your primary audience?
So I really tailored this for foreign policy practitioners. I think a lot of people don't realize how important the sea is, how important maritime power is to the United States, both then and now. And I want to make that very clear to them.
What was your favorite book you read while researching this essay?
Yeah, so I have two. K. Byers' Maritime History of the United States, and Gibson and Donovan's The Abandoned Ocean. And both of those are about the commercial maritime world and kind of all the economic dimensions of American sea power over many decades and centuries.
Who is the most underrated naval figure of the early republic?
Okay, so this is a little bit heretical in naval history circles, but writing this essay, I actually became really sympathetic to Thomas Jefferson. He often gets cast as this like continental, agrarian, anti-naval president. But one of the things I try to draw out in the essay is how he's actually thinking a lot in commercial maritime terms. Even if he doesn't want a big navy, he still thinks that maritime commerce is really important to his vision of America.
Do you prefer silence, music, or background chatter when you write?
Oh, absolutely music. I have a giant playlist of movie soundtracks that is really good to write to.
If you could have dinner with any founding father, who would it be?
I think it has to be Ben Franklin at the end of the Constitutional Convention when they're all there at City Tavern. You pull him aside, and he has that idea about, is it a rising sun or a setting sun? His story's done, right? Like, this is the last thing he does. And so you can sit there with him on that night and just tell him about the next 250 years.
What's one piece of advice you have for young professionals looking to succeed in the field of foreign policy?
Yeah, you should be conspicuously interested in things. That's really important. And be interested in unique things. And don't hide that. I got my first job in government because I was mouthing off in the office about old ships, and I was getting really excited about like historic ships like this. And my boss heard about it, and she emailed me a couple weeks later and said, "Hey, I know you like old ships. How do you feel about new ships?" And I said, "Those are also really cool. I love that." And the rest is history. So do not hide your enthusiasm for interesting and unique things because you don't know where it'll take you.
There you go. What's your go-to snack while writing?
Just copious amounts of black coffee.
In a few short words, how would you define American exceptionalism?
I think I'm always I'm always surprised when you go back into history and you realize how much of that through line of kind of enterprise and entrepreneurialism and self-reliance you see in Americans the people who came here in the colonial era, industrial era titans, Americans of the 20th century. We want to go out and we want to remake the world the way we want it to be. Whether that's settling a continent, building um, great industrial factories and a great economy, or then by the 20th century, we say, no, we're going to make the rest of the world the way we want it to be.
What is one word that best describes your writing style?
Probably verbose. Our editor for this project had to cut about 30% of my final content, or rather, he made me cut 30% of the words. So there's a lot on the cutting room floor.
What's the most surprising fact you learned while researching for your essay?
Yeah, here's something from the cutting room floor. George Washington, after the French and Indian War, actually made a really big business decision based on how he saw his position in the British global commercial maritime enterprise, right? They have this globe spanning enterprise or globe spanning empire. And he pivots from tobacco, which is a luxury, to wheat and builds a grist mill, which is a great capital expense for him because, in part, because he can take advantage of a better tariff and trading regime and access new markets and make a greater profit because he knows where he sits in this maritime world.
What was the founders' biggest maritime blind spot?
I don't think it's necessarily their blind spot, but one of our blind spots about them is how much how much they cared about the commercial maritime trade, global maritime trade as a source of wealth and a source of power for the United States. When we look back, we often look at their debate about a navy. Should we have a big one? Should we have a small one? Should it be close to home? Should it go overseas? What should that look like? But the reason they care about this is because they care very much about the American trade that's traveling to Europe as far as China in 1780, starting in 1783, to the Caribbean, to other colonies. They really cared about this.
Which historical figure do you relate to the most?
If it's not heretical to say in Revolutionary War independence volume, Sir Julian Corbett, the British maritime historian, I've always felt a kinship with him because he likes to explore and does a really great job of exploring how do the economic and commercial elements of maritime power fit into national strategy. And that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out here.
What book would you recommend for someone new to foreign policy?
Great book. One of my favorites. It's very short and very digestible, called Military Strategy by Admiral J.C. Wiley. Fantastic book, and it goes through how different elements of national power, armies, navies, but also, diplomacy, economic power, how wielding these different tools shapes the way you think about the world. And then he tries to bring those together.
Tea or coffee while writing?
Already said that, coffee.
Best piece of advice you've received about writing?
I had a professor in college who gave me a lot of great writing advice. The one that always sticks in my mind and brings me back to thinking about all of his other advice is to never ever use adverbs. So every single time I write ly, I flinch and I start typing backspace, and then I use a stronger verb instead.
If you could ask George Washington one question about leadership, what would it be?
So George Washington, is part of the reason Providence is here. Is part of the reason Providence is in the Continental Navy, and the war kind of starts with him sending these privateers and these kind of small ad hoc fleet of ships out to raid the British, and it ends at Yorktown with one of America's great amphibious operations, with the French at sea and the French and Americans on land, pinning and defeating Cornwallis, and ending the war. And so I'd love to ask him about how he sees those elements of armies and terrestrial power and navies and maritime power, how he saw those fitting together during the war.
Are you a morning person or night owl while writing?
I am very much a morning person, but I'm also very bad at getting all of my thoughts onto the page at a reasonable hour. So I often end up also writing late into the night.
What's one word to describe America's early maritime outlook?
Commercial.
Then versus now, how has the American sea power debate evolved?
So then it was all about making money and all about the trade and the commercial links to other countries. They saw that as the great font of American power, and that's something we've almost completely forgotten today. We think in completely military terms when it comes to navies and sea power.
If you could pose a one sentence challenge to America, what would it be?
Go and build ships.
What is one lesson you hope readers take away from your essay?
I hope that they realize that this maritime strategic tradition, it is part of the inheritance that we get from Britain, one of the great sea powers of history. We're very comfortable talking about how America inherits political institutions, cultural forms, and things like that from Britain. And I think we should remember as well that we do inherit something of this maritime tradition.
Amazing. That's all.
All right.
Thanks so much,
Thanks a
Sam.
lot. This was fun.
Bye.